A storm is brewing in New York's most glamorous drawing rooms. Behind the glittering gowns and the polite smiles, whispers grow louder, secrets sharpen into weapons. And the richest families in the city are about to face a season that could destroy everything they've built. In Season 4 of the Gilded Age, the golden facade is cracking, and what lies beneath is darker than anyone dares to imagine. Asterisk in the earliest days of the Gilded Age. The streets of New York were a battlefield, not with swords and muskets, but with invitations, inheritances, and influence. The old money families guarded their place at the top like a fortress, drawing invisible lines between themselves and the brash newcomers whose fortunes were made in steel, railroads, and industry. At the center of this unspoken war stood two worlds: the austere mansions of Fifth Avenue, where tradition was sacred, and the shimmering new palaces of the rising elite, whose marble staircases and glittering ballrooms were bought with ambition. And daring. In Season 1, we saw the arrival of the Russells, whose fortune and hunger for influence shook the rigid hierarchy of society. Bertha Russell, unyielding and brilliant, waged a silent war against those who would keep her out of their drawing rooms, while George Russell carved his own empire in steel and rail. Across the street, Marian struggled to find her place. Under the watchful eyes of her old money aunts, Agnes and Ada, her heart often rebelled against the rules. But the price of defiance in this city was high. Season 2 widened the battlefield. Alliances formed and broke in a heartbeat. The Opera War, an elegant but ruthless clash between old societies. Academy of Music and the Russells' glittering new Metropolitan Opera House became a symbol of the larger struggle. Behind the curtains of polite society, fortunes crumbled. Scandals brewed, and secrets were buried deeper than ever. It was no longer just a matter of being invited to the right dinners. It was a war for survival in a city where one misstep could end a family's name forever. By Season 3, the game had turned deadly serious. The economic tides shifted, threatening even the most established names. Friendships dissolved into betrayals, as financial ruin loomed over some of the oldest families. Bertha's rise seemed unstoppable, but enemies lurked in unexpected corners. Marian's romantic entanglements tested her loyalty, forcing her to choose between love and security. And as the season ended, a whisper of a scandal, a truth so dangerous it could destroy more than one household, lingered in the air like the faint scent of perfume after a grand ball. Now, as Season 4 begins, the city stands on the edge of transformation. The line between the old and the new has blurred, but the hunger for power has only grown sharper. This season will not simply be about who hosts the most magnificent ball or who wears the most dazzling jewels. It will be about survival. It will be about uncovering the lies that have been buried for decades. And it will be about the rise and fall of names that have defined New York for generations. What no one knows is that the secrets of this season will not just change the game. They will rewrite the rules entirely. The streets of New York no longer belong to a single kind of power. The careful balance between the old aristocracy and the new money elite is breaking apart, and in Season 4 that fracture widens into a chasm. In the past, the two sides fought their battles in whispers, with veiled insults over tea and polite exclusions from guest lists, but now the war is open. This is not just a season of social games, it is a season of conquest. Bertha Russell, once the newcomer clawing at the edges of high society, now commands a position that makes even the most established families nervous. She has learned that power in New York is not inherited, is taken, piece by piece, until no one can ignore you. Her opera house triumph was only the beginning. This season, she sets her sights on something far more dangerous than social recognition: political influence. Behind the doors of her grand home, deals are struck that could shift the city's balance of power. Not just in the drawing rooms, but in the government itself. George Russell, equally ambitious, faces his own challenges. In the ruthless world of industry, a new wave of entrepreneurs, bolder and more ruthless than even he once was, threatens his empire. They don't play by the old rules of business. They crush competition without ceremony, and George must decide whether to uphold the principles that built his fortune or abandon them to survive. His decisions will ripple far beyond his company, pulling in allies and enemies alike, and setting in motion conflicts that will spill into the lives of everyone connected to him. But it is not only the Russells who are shifting the city's foundation. In the stately halls of old money, desperation is creeping in. Fortunes are shrinking as investments fail, and with them the ability to maintain the illusion of untouchable wealth. Some of the city's most respected names now face the unthinkable, marrying for money instead of love, selling off ancestral homes, or aligning themselves with people they once would not have acknowledged. Pride is becoming a luxury they can no longer afford. The season also reveals a deeper undercurrent of unrest in the city itself. The workers who built the mansions and laid the rails are beginning to demand more than just wages. They want a voice. Protests flicker at the edges of the grand avenues, a reminder that the glitter of the Gilded Age hides cracks beneath the gold. These tensions are no longer confined to the factories and docks. They are reaching into the parlors of the wealthy, forcing even the most insulated families to reckon with a changing world. And while all of this unfolds in the open, darker currents swirl in the shadows. Letters passed in secrecy, meetings held in unlit corners of opera houses, and whispered threats at society dinners point to a network of manipulation larger than anyone suspects. In this world, loyalty is a currency, and betrayal is often the most valuable investment. Alliances form out of necessity, not friendship, and those who cannot adapt are left behind, sometimes in ruin, sometimes in scandal. What makes season 4 truly dangerous is not just the open battles, but the unseen hands guiding them. Someone, or perhaps several someones, are pulling strings from the dark, pushing people into conflict, orchestrating downfalls, and quietly shaping the future of New York. Who they are and what they want remains a mystery for now, but one thing is certain. By the end of the season, no one will hold the same position they started with. The mighty will fall, the forgotten will rise, and the city itself will never be the same again, because in the Gilded Age, survival is never guaranteed. And this year, the rules have changed forever. Asterisk this season. The city is no longer just a chessboard, it's a battlefield. Every character steps forward with more to lose, more to gain, and far more to hide. Some of the most powerful names in New York will discover that survival demands something even they have never mastered: trust. But in the Gilded Age, trust is a fragile currency, and it can be bought, sold, or stolen in a heartbeat. Bertha Russell's rise has always been driven by a ruthless clarity of purpose, but in Season 4 we see cracks in her armor. For the first time, she will need allies she cannot entirely control. The old guard may loathe her, but there are those within their ranks who see in her a lifeline, a way to cling to relevance as their influence fades. Strange invitations arrive at her home, each with an unspoken bargain hidden beneath the polite handwriting. Accepting them could cement her dominance. But every new alliance comes with a cost, and some debts cannot be repaid without blood on the floor, figuratively, if not literally. George Russell, meanwhile, finds himself in an unlikely partnership with a man who, not long ago, sought to destroy him. It is an arrangement born not of respect, but of necessity, as a common enemy rises from the shadows of the financial world. Together they plot in private, each aware that the moment the threat is gone, their truce will shatter. The tension between them is a blade's edge sharp enough to cut them both if they're not careful. Across town, Marian Brooks' journey takes a dangerous turn. Once the hopeful, romantic soul of the series, she is now more calculating, her eyes open to the cold mathematics of survival in this city. A figure from her past reappears, not a lover, but a confidant who offers her a path toward independence. The catch: aligning herself with him could set her at odds with both her aunts and the Russells. It's a choice between the comfort of belonging and the risk of carving her own place in a world that punishes women for ambition. Ada Brooke, long the quieter of the sisters, begins to emerge from her shadow. A sudden inheritance gives her a measure of freedom she never dreamed of, and with it comes a chance to influence the very society that once overlooked her. Yet her newfound position draws suitors and schemers alike, each seeing in her wealth an opportunity. Ada must decide who truly values her and who only values her fortune. Elsewhere in the city, the line between love and strategy blurs. A scandalous romance begins between two members of rival households, hidden under layers of deception. Their passion could bridge an old feud or ignite it into something far more destructive. Secrets exchanged in the quiet of night risk exposure in the glare of daylight, and one careless word could unravel them both. And then there are the alliances that no one dares to speak of aloud. Servants trading information for coin, society. Hostesses exchanging invitations for influence, businessmen making promises in back rooms that they have no intention of keeping. In the drawing rooms, these arrangements wear the mask of civility. Behind closed doors, they are closer to conspiracies. By mid-season, the network of loyalties and betrayals is so tangled that it becomes impossible to tell who is truly on whose side. Old rivals stand shoulder to shoulder in public, only to plot each other's downfall in private. Friends smile as they toast to each other's successes, even as they lay the groundwork for a quiet ruin. Love is no longer pure, friendship no longer safe, and every alliance feels like a temporary ceasefire in a war that no one admits is being fought. But in the Gilded Age, every alliance, no matter how improbable, serves a purpose. Some will hold long enough to change the city's balance forever. Others will collapse in spectacular fashion, leaving only whispers and wreckage in their wake. And as the season unfolds, one truth becomes clear. In a world built on appearances, the most dangerous thing you can do is trust the wrong person. Beneath the candlelight and the clinking of crystal glasses, a shadow moves silently through season 4. This figure is not the loudest voice in the ballroom, nor the most feared name in the newspapers. They are something far more dangerous, someone who has learned the art of invisibility in a city obsessed with spectacle. For years, they have stood at the edges of conversations, smiling politely, nodding at the right moments, slipping unnoticed through the crowd, and all the while they have been listening and planning. The hidden villain of this season does not strike like a thief in the night. They weave their power slowly, like a spider building a web, strand by strand, until their victims do not even realize they are trapped. Every piece of gossip, every whispered confession, every careless remark over champagne, it all finds its way back to them. They are the silent keeper of the city's most dangerous secrets, and this year they have decided to use them. Their reach extends into every corner of New York's glittering society. A young debutante's scandalous letter disappears from her desk, only to resurface at the perfect moment to end engagement. A business deal collapses after a private conversation somehow becomes public knowledge. A carefully placed rumor causes a powerful matriarch to cancel a ball that would have strengthened her influence. These are not accidents, they are precision. Strikes, each one planned with almost surgical care. The most unnerving part: no one suspects the true culprit. The Russells believe it is the old money families working together. The old guard suspects the new elite is trying to dismantle them from within. The truth is far more cunning. The hidden villain is not loyal to either side. Their loyalty lies only with themselves and the future they envision. And that future requires that certain people fall hard. George Russell feels the pressure. First, deals begin to fail for reasons that make no sense, and allies start to hesitate before committing to his projects. His instincts tell him that someone is orchestrating this, but each time he follows the trail, it ends in a dead end. Meanwhile, Bertha notices that invitations she expected never arrive, and doors that were once open now seem politely closed. In her world, such slights are never accidental. She vows to find the cause, unaware that the person she's searching for has already mapped her every move. Even Marian, far removed from the brutal games of industry and high society, is not safe. A friend turns distant without explanation, and a long-awaited opportunity is suddenly withdrawn. She cannot see the invisible hand guiding these changes, but the consequences pull her deeper into the web. The hidden villain thrives in this confusion. The more chaos they create, the easier it is to maneuver unseen. They feed the city's hunger for scandal, knowing that in New York, gossip is both entertainment and weapon. Their aim is not just to ruin reputations, it is to rearrange the city's power entirely. They are reshaping the board so that when the game ends, they alone will be in a position no one can challenge. What makes this figure terrifying is not their malice, but their patience. They do not need to win today, or even tomorrow. They understand that true victory comes when your opponents never realize they were playing against you at all. And by the time the truth begins to surface, it will be too late. The betrayals will already be complete, the alliances already broken, and the city already changed beyond recognition. By the season's midpoint, the audience will have their first true glimpse of this hidden manipulator, not a full reveal, but just enough to know that they are far closer to the central characters than anyone imagined. They have shaken hands with them, shared tables with them, perhaps even toasted to their health. And in that moment, the question becomes not just who is the villain, but how many victories have they already stolen without anyone knowing? Because in the Gilded Age, the most dangerous enemy is not the one across the ballroom, it's the one smiling right beside you.